Colby Jones, the guard out of Xavier. Unlike nearly every player projected in the first round, he's not 19. He's actually going to be 21 really soon. He's a 6'6 guard. He's got a pretty wide range of outcomes. I don't really ever see anyone going higher than 15 on him so far. He is a shooter, 58 true shooting, 22 usage. He averaged 16 points per 36 minutes. So let me start off by asking this. When you say you're higher on him, the consensus, like how high are we talking here for Colby Jones?
So, right now, obviously I'm tinkering with my big board as the draft progresses and gets closer, but I've got him at 16. I've had him higher than that before. Asking around, there's a lot of fans in front offices. There's a lot of teams that are really intrigued and asking about him. And that's usually a telling sign that's like, okay, that name's buzzing a little bit. And the ears perk up. And it's just with Colby Jones, I think he's going to be one of these guys that just fills up the box score. He does a lot of different stuff. Some nights he's, high number of assists. Coming into this year, he had some buzz as a potential NBA prospect, and scouts wanted to see the 3-point shot develop, and it did in a big way. And he's just one of those players that you might look up and it's, he had 15 points and 6 rebounds and 5 assists and then a couple steals. And you're just like, whoa, he just impacts the game every single night. And, he's going to be an upperclassman, a little bit older. So that might be something that teams kind of hold against him. But I think at some point in this draft, you're wanting a smart player that's really intelligent and makes winning, impactful plays. I think Colby Jones is going to be right at the top of the list.
So let me ask you about him. Like, he comes in with some shooting ability, but he didn't take a huge amount of threes. He attempted 3 threes per game at 38%, but 3.5 threes per 36 minutes is quite low volume. And he couldn't hit free throws. 65% from the line on 3.5 attempts. Now, the 6 rebounds are really interesting. The 4.5 assists at this sort of position where he's not really a point guard, but like a ball handler type is interesting. A very strong steal rate is also interesting. But what is it with the shot? Why didn't he take so many threes? Is there concern with the free throw percentage and how that enables him to translate as a shooter heading into the NBA? Is he going to be someone in the NBA who is able to do stuff mid-range and at the rim? Because his finishing rate was pretty strong, but I'm just more concerned about that volume on the threes.
Yeah, the volume on the three is definitely interesting because this offseason, I think, coming into the year, scouts wanted to see that develop, and he's shown it can be a weapon with his game. But the fascinating part about Colby's offensive, upside is he's really smart with working to get to his spots. He knows that he doesn't want to rely on the 3-point shot. Now, if you're going to give it to him, he will take it. He'll make you respect it. But Colby works to get to his spots. He's a mid-range guy that is crafty with, playing out of the pick and roll and navigating and all of that stuff. So I think when you're talking about that, and yes, the free throw percentage is a little bit lower than you like to see it, but I think the form, the consistency with his shot, it's really strong. So I think he's going to be that 3-level scorer at the next level.
Okay, so defensively, like, there is obviously he's 6'6", he doesn't have a huge wingspan, it's about 6'8", like that's okay. He's probably a little undersized to guard up the bigger type wings. He's probably, I would say, more going to be tasked with guarding the twos more than the threes. Is he capable of that? Is he going to be a guy that gets targeted on that end? Is that something that he can be? Like, no, I can be a strong defender, and whatever else you get is a bonus.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to hold his own and switch onto multiple positions on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, he's listed at 6'6", 207, but he's stocky. He's got a big body. We've had someone at No Ceilings that got to see him live this year, and that was one of the first things he said. He's like, he is a load. He is humongous. He's really, really well built. So I think Colby's going to draw a lot of comparisons to Josh Hart of the New York Knicks. And
okay, that's interesting.
It's going to be one of those just smart players that really knows how to fill a lot of roles. And I think teams are going to be very intrigued with him, especially if you get towards that late lottery. He might be a name that sneaks up there.
Josh Hart's a really interesting comp as a guy that obviously struggles with his 3-point shot, but does a lot of really strong and smart and tough things on the court. But he's also one of those players that you probably never want to go, oh, look at the upside here. Look at the massive swing I'm going to take. I'll reach it to 10 or 11 because I think there's this huge upside. But yeah, those guys always tend to be available later half of the first round. You go, this guy's going to contribute. He's going to be really, really good. And I don't even know if you went back and redid Josh Hart's draft where he would end up going in that draft, even though he's had a really, really strong and successful career. It's just that like there is limitations is into what he does and to how big his role can grow in the certain situations where maybe he's not playable because of the offensive limitations. Is that sort of what you see with Colby, or you think there is more upside there where, like, even if it doesn't come to fruition, that there is a chance that he can do a little bit more?
I think there's a chance that, Colby's going to offer a little bit more offensively than probably Josh Hart does. Now, Josh Hart's turned into a fantastic defensive asset, but I think every draft class, you're going to see the upperclassmen go a little bit later than they might need to, might realize or expect. And that's why we always have these redrafts, and those guys tend to skyrocket up boards and go much earlier, because I think we chase the idea when it's evaluating, or NBA teams evaluating, of an idea of an unfinished player. And sometimes you chase upside. And with a lot of these upperclassmen that have gone back and admitted to themselves, like, I need to keep working on my game to be ready for that next level, they get a lot better. They work on some of the weaknesses in their games. And I think you've seen that with Colby Jones, with adding the 3-point shot this year. Now it's low volume, like you said, Josh, but I do think that it's now at a point where it looks like it's going to be a real part of his game moving forward.
We're going to come back.